Today, Dr. Bob is going to be informing us on one of the most disturbing SCPs to ever exist. If you guys know an SCP that's grosser, comment it down below and let's get into it.
A man wakes up with a start. Did something just bite him?
Oh God.
He looks down at his hand.
Oh God.
Something definitely bit him. He can see the red welt already forming.
Dude's got bed bugs.
He looks around for the culprit, but can't find it anywhere.
It's inside of him.
He really hopes he doesn't have bed bugs. That's the last thing he needs right now.
Bed bugs are basically
He'll have to keep his eyes open for
herpes?
potential pests. He doesn't want this to happen again, since the spot is already starting to itch and feel uncomfortable. A couple days pass, though, with no signs of other bugs. It must have just been a random insect that came inside his house to escape the winter cold. The spot on his hand felt a little rough for a day or two, but now he's pretty much forgotten all about it.
Are those bunny
now
slippers?
What he really needs is some coffee before sitting down to another coding session.
Oh.
The man is in his kitchen trying to make a fresh pot of coffee, but finds he's having a hard time. He's not so much making coffee as he is making a mess.
Bro's
He
losing
knocks
his
his
motor
favorite
functions.
mug onto
What
the
is that?
ground, breaking it, and decides that maybe he doesn't need coffee after all.
Did he just have an insect
A
finger?
couple of nights later, as the man is watching TV, he starts to cough. Just a little at first, but then more and more. The coughing fits get longer and deeper too, like they are coming from the very bottom of his lungs.
How does he not notice
He
his
hopes
arm?
he isn't coming down with something. He hasn't left the house in days, so how could he have?
Maybe the creature
Can bugs
makes you not
transfer
notice the
colds?
changes.
He'll have to look it up later.
Look at
For
that
now,
hand,
he needs
Jesus.
to do something about this cough. He won't be able to sleep if it keeps up. He needs to go get some medicine. The man gets bundled up and heads out. It's lightly snowing as he walks to the pharmacy, and he can't help but admire the way the moon hangs in the sky. A beautiful
that's
beacon
such a
of light
beautiful
on this
snowy
dark
night.
winter evening. Inside the pharmacy, he finds the cold medicine section and picks out a cough suppressant.
Bro!
He takes it to the counter and decides to get a few candy bars too. He's developed a real sweet tooth these last few days.
Oh boy, that's
The
a
man
bad
starts
sign.
to cough again. It's a good thing he's getting this medicine.
That poor lady.
Several more days pass, and the man isn't feeling any better. This cough just won't go away. He decides it's finally time to go see a doctor.
Bro, you look
As he
disgusting.
sits in the doctor's office waiting room, he does his best to hold in his coughs, but he has a very hard time.
Turtleneck
The woman on
and
the other
bunny
side
slippers.
of the room is coughing too. Strangely, it actually makes him feel a little better. There must just be something going around.
No, you're
A
dying,
nurse
bro.
comes into the waiting room and calls his name. The doctor is ready for him.
Oh,
The man is sitting on
damn,
the bed
she's
in the
got it too.
examination room when the doctor enters. He's looking over his medical records and doesn't even look up from his clipboard. He tells the man to take off his shirt
They
so
all
that he
have
can be
these cute
examined,
little
and the
lips.
man obliges.
Look at those things.
Okay, let's see what the trouble is, the doctor says. He finally looks up at the man and screams.
That is disgusting.
It didn't take long for the SCP Foundation to hear the reports of people's limbs metamorphosing into insectoid appendages, and they knew immediately what they were dealing with. This was another outbreak of the parasitic, limb-transforming insect known as SCP-150.
Damn.
SCP-150 is an obligate parasite, meaning that it requires a host for the completion of its reproductive life cycle.
Put those nipples
It
away.
bears a visual appearance similar to that of Cymathoa
Nemo?
exigua, another parasite that eats the tongue
Oh,
of a particular type of
goddamn.
fish before replacing
Forgot
the tongue
about those
with its
things
own
that eat
body.
fish's mouths, dude. Parasites are
SCP-150
disgusting.
engages in similar behavior, though it appears to exclusively affect humans. When a human comes in contact with the small bug-like organism, it will embed itself under its new host's skin.
That's
Next,
so
over the course of
disgusting.
roughly 7 days, SCP-150 will burrow deep into the host's
So
flesh
basically, if
and
it
begin
bites
to
you,
cause
gotta cut
numerous
your arm off.
physiological changes to them. First, and most prominently, SCP-150 will begin a gradual process of altering the limb that is nearest to the original infection site.
Ooh.
As
Science.
SCP-150 burrows deeper and consumes the flesh, it excretes a substance that has the effect of replacing the missing sections of the limb with a hard, chitinous material that resembles one of its own appendages.
Dude, the
Beneath
fingers
chitin,
just
the
shrinking.
excreted substance
It's so
forms a
disgusting
rudimentary
to see
nervous
in real
system
life.
that gives the host the ability to control the new limb as if it were their own. As it feeds, SCP-150 also secretes several chemicals that contain anesthetic, immunosuppressant, and transplant-rejecting properties that keep the host's body from responding to the changes, or even reacting at all.
That
In fact,
explains
the host
so
will
much.
often report that their new limb is completely normal and feels stronger and more resilient after the transformation.
That's what I was gonna say. Wouldn't that be stronger? Or what
SCP-150
are
will
bugs like
continue
super
to
strong?
feed for approximately 1 to 2 weeks, and as it feeds on the nutrients within its host's body, it will begin to reproduce, creating eggs that it deposits directly into the bloodstream. While the majority of these eggs will
Bugs
die
are
off,
disgusting.
enough usually survive to begin colonizing other parts of the host's body, where they will hatch and repeat the process of feeding, reproducing, and spreading more eggs.
Gnarly.
It is theorized that it is capable of reproducing on its own, meaning that a single instance of SCP-150 is all it takes to create a new colony.
A colony spawned by one woman. Oh my god, I just realized ants are incest
will
also.
sometimes report slight discomfort and issues with their fine motor skills during this period, but will usually not express any knowledge of what might be causing this. Eventually, SCP-150 eggs will reach the host's lungs, where the process of assimilating continues, this time replacing the lungs themselves. During this process, more eggs will be produced, laid, and then spread out of the body by the host's coughing. As many as 10,000 eggs will be produced during this period, approximately 1% of which will survive being expelled, find another host, and implant themselves. The assimilation process then spreads to the central nervous system, including the spinal cord and brain, but strangely, the host will show no signs that their consciousness or behavior have been affected in any way.
Bug? Is that the end game here?
In interviews with hosts of SCP-150, those who are unaware that they are infected have not expressed any knowledge of changes happening in or out of their body. When subjects are made aware that they have been infected, they will be able to point out the site of the original infection and agree that a change has taken place, but they seem to have no ill will towards their new chitinous appendages and will often express positive feelings about it. In order to better study the effects of SCP-150 under SCP Foundation control, 2 D-Class personnel, D-13732 and D-016002, were both infected with the parasites, and the assimilation process was allowed to fully progress through all the stages. Following signs that D-016002 was experiencing swelling of the brain, a decompressive craniotomy was performed, a procedure in which a portion of the skull is removed in order to relieve pressure on the brain.
Oh, I've heard of those. I'm a scientist.
This surgery had the added benefit of giving Foundation researchers the chance to look at SCP-150's progress firsthand. But after a flap of her skull was removed, the attending scientists did not find that her brain was swelling. They didn't find her brain at all.
Damn.
But instead, observed numerous instances of SCP-150 in the cavity where her brain should be.
My god, it's a colony.
The D-Class had been partially anesthetized to numb her skull but remained conscious during the procedure, and the scientists asked her several simple questions to which she was perfectly able to answer. They began removing some of the parasites, and as they did so, her answers became slower and less clear. It appeared that the SCP-150 instances had not just eaten and replaced her brain, they had become her brain.
That's so weird.
For the next experiment, they would use the instances of SCP-150 that had been removed from D-13732's nervous system after he had been euthanized following the discovery that his entire nervous system had also been replaced entirely by SCP-150.
So
the parasites taken from his brain cavity were placed into D-016002s, and the results were nothing short of incredible.
That's so confusing.
After observing a period of time where the organisms appeared to move and rearrange themselves within her skull, she regained consciousness. Once awake, not only did her cognitive functions immediately improve, when she was asked to state her name, she told them it was Michael, D-13732's name.
That's gotta be the craziest sex change transplant I've ever seen.
It is unknown why SCP-150 engages in this peculiar life cycle, but the danger it poses to humans and the difficulty in keeping it contained has led the SCP Foundation to classify it as Keter.
Yeah, because
some of the more erudite researchers have taken to calling the parasite the ship of Theseus, a play on the philosophical notion that questions whether something that has had all of its parts replaced is still fundamentally the same, or if it has become something new.
So they do become that. That's pretty crazy.
Perhaps the observation of those infected with SCP-150 can shed some light on this millennia-old question. Infected patients who are being studied are to be kept in Level 3 biohazard containment cells, with never more than one infected host per cell. Cultures of SCP-150 adults and eggs are kept in vacuum-sealed glass flasks in the Site-42 Infectious Materials Lab, and the Foundation's standard pathogen handling procedures are required to be followed at all times. Should any instance of SCP-150 be found outside of containment, it is to be immediately incinerated.
Oh, there you go.
Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, and be sure to subscribe as we delve further and further into the SCP Foundation's classified archives.
I'm a little mixed mixed on if this is a horrible situation or not. Because don't insects have like crazy strength for their body size? Like they could throw things 10 times bigger than them or stuff like that. I guess ants can, but these pretty much look like ants. Either way, if you could maintain your consciousness and your personality while going through this transformation, you may come out just a super bug person. You'll never touch a woman, but I think it might be a fair trade-off for super strength. It's a lot to consider. Either way, subscribe to Dr. Bob for more awesome SCP stuff. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.